Annastacia Palaszczuk, set to reveal just when the state will reopen borders. Brendan Smith has all the latest information for us this morning. He joins us live from State Parliament. Brendan, good morning to you. Victorian cases could, of course, hinder those reopening plans.
Pete, good morning. They could indeed. 75 cases yesterday. Right now in Queensland, there's just 2 active cases across the state. And ever since that second wave did break out in Victoria, many people here have been worried that it could really affect the opening of the borders, which were earmarked for July 10, when step 3 of the road to recovery is set to be implemented. We know that there's been really a point of contention between the government and the LNP. The LNP, of course, wanted the borders opened as soon as possible. Deb Frecklington saying if she was Premier, she'd open the borders by July 1. The Premier says she's waiting on health advice to see exactly when borders can be reopened. The general chat last week was that if borders do reopen, there'll be massive restrictions for anyone travelling from Victoria, required to self-quarantine for that 14-day period. But of course, it sparked multiple debates across the nation. Pauline Hanson doesn't believe that the Premier will open the borders today.
I think she'll stick with keeping the borders shut, especially what's happening in Victoria now. So she'll say, oh no, we can't allow the Victorians up here because, they'll bring up the COVID-19 up to Queensland. So she's been so adamant with it, and since the spike in cases that's actually happened in Victoria, I don't hold any hope out. And I don't believe she'll open them by July the 10th either.
The Premier herself has said multiple Queenslanders have been coming up to her saying they don't want the borders reopened. A recent poll overnight from the Courier Mail shows the majority of Queenslanders also echo that thought, believing that borders should remain closed for now until those Victorian cases die down. The Palaszczuk government, of course, says they are really relying on health advice before they reopen the borders.
We've always said that we'll make the right decisions on behalf of the health of Queenslanders. That's not just the right thing in terms of people's health, but also it's the right thing for the economy. As we see second waves happen in a whole range of other places around the world, we don't want that happening in Queensland, so it's got to be evidence-based, it's got to be based on health advice.
Now, of course, the economy has been a major problem here in Queensland, particularly on the Gold Coast, with so many restaurant operators relying on tourism and customers just from over the border in northern New South Wales. They, of course, want the borders reopened. Again, Deb Frecklington is keen to get them open as soon as possible. She'll, of course, be on Sky News at 7:30 this morning.